possibilities. They're everywhere. From each atom of every molecule to thousands of kilometers deep within the earth. From the sparkling eyes of a young knowledge seeker to the silent confidence of a budding entrepreneur. Possibilities ignite the aspirations of a billion people. They hold the key to the future of India. Bringing them to life is what drives us as a company. We are constantly expanding and harnessing energy for diversified growth. From the largest network of natural gas pipelines in India, and also the first company to lay LPG pipelines in the country, with gas-based processing facilities for value-added products from natural gas. Spearheading new strategies in sourcing and LNG shipping. At GAIL, we are leading India's efforts to deliver clean energy to its people through new and innovative solutions. Overcoming difficult terrains and inclement weather to augment the nation's pipeline infrastructure. We are connecting clean energy sources to energy markets and enhancing lives everywhere. Thus adding momentum to India's growth story. Diversifying our global presence across varied geographical and price indexations. We are quietly striving for India's energy security. With absolute transparency, impeccable corporate practices, utmost integrity, and sustainability in all our operations, we are finding reliable, sustainable options that make a positive difference. The future holds many challenges. Challenges fraught with the possibilities of innovation and of growth. Above all, the possibility of a better life, energizing a billion dreams. We are committed to creating stories of progress, of enhancing India's quality of life. That's what inspires our every move. That's why we exist. GAIL, energizing possibilities.
India is a large country with an ever-growing economy and industries that are progressing every day to cater to 1.3 billion population. These industries form the backbone of the nation, making India one of the fastest growing economies in the world. In the power sector, India Power Corporation Limited has been doing just that, steadily and with determination, adding power to the lives of people for the last 100 years. The journey began in 1919 when the then largest coal producer in Asia, the Bengal Coal Company Limited, needed a solution to its massive power requirements. The Sherigar Power Supply Corporation Limited was set up in Asansol to meet their needs. It was awarded a distribution license in 1932 and it became DPSC Limited in 2003. In 2008, it developed a 2 megawatt solar power plant at Shibpur, a first of its kind grid-connected solar plant in Asia. On a roll now, in 2013, the name DPSC Limited changed to IPCL or India Power Corporation Limited. And that is how India and the world knows us today. In 2014, IPCL commenced power distribution in Gaya as a distribution franchisee and continued for 4 years with benchmarked performance in such a short period, achieving loss reduction trajectory supply reliability of over 95% and deployment of smart metering technology, being much ahead of others and having the highest performance in its kind of distribution model. Another ace that we have up our sleeves is the implementation of SCADA, a revolutionary mechanism. It is installed at the J.K. Nagar substation, which acts as the central conduit for real-time monitoring and control over quality output and consumer feedback using automated meter reading technology along with automated digitized payment options. J.K. Nagar also houses India Power's Area Load Dispatch Center, which is the nerve center for the operation, planning, monitoring and control of the power system, ensuring India Power to achieve maximum security and efficiency, providing uninterrupted power supply to its consumers. The distribution portfolio also saw an addition with India Power acquiring distribution license for the SEZ region of Tuticorin, spread across an area of approximately 2,518 acres. In 2019, India Power is completing its centenary year as a leading holistic integrated power utility in the country.
We are proud to be celebrating India Power's 100th year in 2019. We are a unique company with a rich legacy of a 100-year-old, century-old organization, as well as the dynamism of a very young and futuristic utility. We are one of the first distribution companies who have implemented 100% automated metering infrastructure and implement SCADA and other technologies, which is helping our customers consume electricity more efficiently and making our network more reliable.
India Power today is an integrated holistic power company with foothold in different segments. With regards to India Power's exceptional operational efficiency, a special mention is imperative for its operation in the Asansol and Raniganj area. Despite being in a competitive market, the power distribution scenario is different from the rest. It has the lowest T&D losses of about 3% only. Its supply reliability is rated at 99.99%. distinguished by its customer-centric programs and digitization.
I am very happy to satisfy with the services and all the service rendered by the corporation.
Quick response team, that is maintenance team during emergency, stormy weather, they are giving full support to us and we are happy with the IPCL authority.
The quality of power is very good. And the frequency is also very low, the power cut frequency, the fluctuations are not there.
जो भी स्टाफ है, सर्विस है, सबसे बेस्ट सर्विस है। प्रोडक्शन के लिए हमें लाइन की पावर की बहुत आवश्यकता होती है, जो कि आपके यहाँ बहुत अच्छी व्यवस्था है। कुछ प्रॉब्लम होने से विदिन एन आवर ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व की जाती है।
We are getting a very good service, very good support. I advise to all the industries or promoter or any other domestic use or commercial use, go for India Power.
A 100-year journey is no easy feat. So, if one were to ask, how did India Power do it? The answer will be simple: expertise and experience. We constantly upgrade our skills by adopting new technologies. Digitization is playing a major role in that direction, such as implementing smart grid technologies through USTDA grants, partnering with others for smarter metering technologies like advanced metering infrastructure systems, and setting up live smart meters, which have been lauded by India Smart Grid Forum. Now, 100 years on, India Power has had its fair share of awards and accolades across segments for best HR practices, digitization, CSR, and quality benchmarking, and the satisfaction of countless happy consumers who helped India Power not just shine in its endeavors, but helped set the legacy in stone. And the mission is to empower millions with the best at the least cost. Mission and vision. India Power is an organization of the people, for the people, and by the people. It strives towards empowering communities around us. The culture is defined by 3 Ds: discipline, dedication, devotion. And the vision is to be a leading and reliable end-to-end energy solutions provider to the country. The mission is to empower millions with the best at the least cost. India Power always strives to provide its employees with a sense of ownership and essential values. It prides itself over its strong and talented team spread across the country. It is target-oriented but not at any negative cost. Integrity, a sense of ownership, fair business structures, organizational pride, customer delight, and constant innovation is what drives India Power, empowering lives for the last 100 years. On to the next 100.
In the air, Srishan takes it! India win!
The word first is ingrained into our DNA. The first organized steel service center in India for industrial customers. The first steel service center capable of processing high tensile steel up to 1100 megapascal. Revolutionizing the industry through futuristic innovations. Equipped with cutting-edge technology to deliver innovative products and services to customers. In perfect harmony with Tata Steel that enables it to extend its reach, facilitate order customization, optimize lot sizes, and execute just-in-time deliveries. Partnering with blue-chip national and international brands through a nationwide footprint and a vibrant, motivated, and agile workforce. In tune with current market dynamics, yet future-ready. 100% subsidiary of Tata Steel, we are Tata Steel Downstream Products Limited.
Thank you, everybody. This is how some of our partnering corporates are making difference. So welcome all to this session on this day 2 of the 14th edition of the Bengal Chambers Environment and Energy Conclave. This session is being presented to you with British Deputy High Commission, Kolkata. It is UK session on COP26 and clean transition, sharing best practices and new opportunities. The session would be moderated by Mr. Gautam Ray, Chairperson of the Energy and Environment Committee of the Chamber, who's also the Vice President of the Chamber and Executive Director of CESC Limited. I would request Mr. Ray to please take forward the session. The welcome address would be delivered by Ms. Libby Green, but I would request Mr. Ray to please take forward the proceedings.
Good afternoon to all of you. In fact, we are in the second day of the 14th edition of Environment and Energy Conclave, which is a signature event of the Chamber, and we feel honored and privileged to have this session which has been basically designed and organized by the British High Commission, Deputy High Commission, Kolkata, and we are also privileged to have UK government as the partner of this very, very prestigious and flagship event. Bengal Chamber, as all of you know, since beginning, I mean, for quite a long time, we have been engaged with the sustainability programs. Sustainability is a subject on which we have centered around various activities and tried to be associated with all the national and international events focusing on sustainability. COP26, yes, we have been associated with the preparatory activities also since long. And earlier also we have organized events. As you can say, there's our journey to COP26. We have organized various events, developed recommendations, suggestions, and which has been forwarded to the COP26 committee. Today we have the dignitaries with us, Mr. Libby Green, who is the COP26 diplomacy lead and head of climate and energy pillar, British High Commission, New Delhi, and UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. I would request Mr. Libby Green to initiate the session with his welcome address.
Many thanks. I'm not sure why my video isn't working, so apologies for that. But
Ms. Green, if it is all right, if we can see your video, if it is all right, if you can.
Yes, I'm just not sure how to switch it on, actually. It doesn't seem to be working.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, but you can hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Absolutely clear.
Apologies for my video. Yes, well, let me thank you, start by thanking you, Mr. Gautam Ray, for your introduction, and extend my warm greetings to the distinguished panel members for this session and all the participants. It's really great to join you today for this session on COP26. More broadly, it's a pleasure to take part in the Bengal Chamber's 14th edition of the Environment and Energy Conclave. I took part last year also, actually, which was about my second week in India, so it holds special memories for me. So we've all been dealing with the global pandemic, while at the same time the dangers of global warming have continued to become even more evident. Many parts of India have experienced unprecedented heat waves, catastrophic cyclones, cloudbursts and flooding. World over, climate-induced disasters have indeed got worse. It was interesting to see the IPCC's report earlier this month, which gave a really clear signal on all of this. So according to the report, under the worst warming scenarios, Kolkata may experience a 4.5 degrees Celsius rise in annual mean temperatures between 2081 and 2100, compared to the pre-industrial period. Also, the report showed that Kolkata recorded the highest rise in surface air temperature within the studied cities and regions across the world between 1950 and 2018. So this is indeed alarming. As we continue to manage the impact of these disasters and of COVID, the priority is to invest in a greener, more resilient recovery and enhancing our ambition on climate action. Worldwide, there is a consensus the future has to be powered by renewables, and the future of transport has to be electric. These are the only viable and sustainable long-term growth sources that can power countries and meet the needs of the global community. So the UK will, of course, be hosting COP26 from the 1st to the 12th of November in Glasgow. It will be a moment where countries come together to reaffirm their commitment to the Paris Agreement, and in particular to ramp up global climate ambition bringing the world back on track to limiting global temperature rise, ideally within 1.5 degrees centigrade. And there are 5 key themes that we'll be working on at COP26: clean energy, clean transport, adaptation and resilience, nature-based solutions, and green finance. I think we all understand that partnership on climate resilient and low carbon development will play a significant role in advancing the objectives of COP26. And this means that to accelerate our journey towards a greener and cleaner future, exchange of ideas should happen between nations at all levels, between cities, businesses, think tanks, startups, researchers, investors, and financial organisations. With just 2 months to go to COP, I'm pleased that today we have come together to deliberate and exchange knowledge on 2 of the key themes of COP: clean transport and clean energy. The UK and India shares a fantastic partnership on both clean energy transition and clean transport, working closely with the Ministry of Power and the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, NITI Aayog, and broader stakeholders in government, civil society and business. It's great that many of them I know are involved in this conference. This includes a focus on supporting the development of renewable energy, particularly solar and offshore wind, and developing new models for city decarbonisation, improving energy efficiency, particularly in industry, and nudging the transition to electric mobility by strengthening state policies and developing awareness-raising tools. We'll be driving this forward with initiatives in new areas, including on battery development and green hydrogen. We will work closely with West Bengal on climate action and electric mobility. It is indeed great to see Kolkata being recognised internationally by both C40 and IEA for the exemplary work on electrification of the public transport system, particularly electric buses. We are glad that we could contribute to West Bengal's ambitious electric mobility policy announced recently, and we have now embarked on a knowledge exchange exercise between the UK and cities of West Bengal to help accelerate uptake of EVs. And to further strengthen our bond on clean transition, we have speakers joining us from the UK and India to exchange innovative ideas with you. My warm welcome and thanks to Coventry City Council, Energy Systems Catapult, EO Charging UK, the Climate Group, and World Business Council for Sustainable Development for joining us today to share their insights on transition policies, clean technologies, and collaborative approaches. I'm confident through today's interaction, more organisations from West Bengal and beyond will be encouraged to take climate action in the run-up to COP26. I wish you all a productive event and a great discussion. Many thanks.
Many thanks to Mrs. Green for your, very thought-provoking welcome address. And you have correctly said that all roads now leading to COP26, all roads and the journey on basically the clean energy and clean transport, that has to have a proper synthesis. And while rightly said that India as a country is facing a lot of major natural calamities in recent past, which is a matter of worry for all of us. And Kolkata as a city also had a past record of quite a rise in the temperature, as you have mentioned. But if you see recently that this is the city which has taken a lead in the e-mobility, which has taken a lead on how really the clean energy and the efficiency can take place. And Bengal Chamber is one of the, major platform for such a good initiative. So we all are waiting. We have to work on the renewable sector, solar, wind, as you have mentioned. And we all are eagerly waiting to see that what exactly happening on COP26 and where the convergence and collaboration will take place, not only within a country, within a city, the worldwide. So today's deliberation, we are also expecting many new ideas and recommendations to come. To start with, I would request Mrs. Samala Evans Gadgil to speak on innovative approach for transition to clean transport. Basically, she is a lead consultant, Coventry City Council, UK. So I would request Mrs. Samala Evans to speak.
So hello everyone. So I'm Shamla Evans Gadgil, Coventry City Council. I lead on electrification, specifically looking at rollout of support system for the uptake of electric vehicles. I have a presentation that I think I would like to share, and I hope I can work this screen. I'm hoping that everybody can see this.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. Not sure what's happened. I think I'm going to have to leave it as without it being a slideshow. So if I can just go on to the next slide. So why electric city? So Coventry definitely is an electric city. It is a very much a transport-based city. A lot of motor manufacturing and supply chain that is present in Coventry, very much a pivotal city in transport, if you like, and doing huge steps around electrification. So to do with why electrify Coventry? So we are looking at climate change strategy. Coventry is under a climate action plan, and we are looking at, this is going to boost jobs and growth in local economy. We are looking at zero carbon transport system by changing or transitioning to electric classified vehicles. So the innovation in Coventry is very light rail, electric buses, electric taxis, electric vans, electric private vehicles, actually looking at all types of mobility through electrification. And for that, you are definitely going to need a sort of charging infrastructure network. So what are those? Those are, so we are looking at plug-in charging, static charging, overhead pantograph charging, and we are also looking at dynamic charging of vehicles. So just a quick short background on where Coventry sits. So this is the map of Coventry in whole. And where you see the red lines, those are the hotspots for air quality that have been identified. And we see that typically it's the diesel vehicles which takes the highest proportion on both of these routes. Like you've got the route that is southwest, and you've got routes sort of north, south, east. This sort of pie chart shows, I'm sure you'll be able to see these slides later on and have a look at the percentages of different fuel types and different vehicle classification that contributes to the air pollution. So developing an EV culture. So how are we doing that? We have sort of submitted or secured funding from central government to roll out the electric vehicle charging infrastructure in Coventry. 25% of the funding is supported by private sector, along with the Transport Authority in West Midlands, and bus operators, and of course private sectors. So we're looking at the holistic approach of the electric vehicle charging infrastructure to the whole of the city, not just certain areas of the city. Access to the charge points for public sort of passenger service vehicles like buses or taxis, and of course promoting the increase of EV cars through workplace charging. So we've partnered with EO charging for that. We've got home charging and through on-street charging. And we have partnered with a few charge point operators to extend the charging network in Coventry. This is, of course, going to improve air quality, and the charging infrastructure is being future-proofed for emerging technologies. So looking at what the charging infrastructure strategy looks like, we are looking at short-term, medium-term, and long-term, so over the next 10 years. And these sort of small sections are showing what the medium, small, short, medium, and long-term strategy is looking to deliver. For example, within the mobility side of it, e-bikes, e-scooter, car clubs is a short-term within the next 1 or 2 years. But then autonomous vehicles, we are looking at long-term. This is with the private category. You then look at sort of public transport side of it, or transport being made available to public, would be the electric buses, electric taxis, very light rail, and electric bikes. And then again, looking at, from a hub perspective, renewable energy perspective, you would look, or we are looking at projects like Clean Hub, Green Innovation Park, having solar farms in Coventry, and then looking at sort of across the cross-sector industry like e-cargo bikes, e-vans, and again VLR. So in Coventry, this is roughly showing you a sort of a snapshot of the electric vehicle charge point network that is currently operational. So we now have about 485 chargers with a mix of slow, fast, and rapid. And this slide is sort of showing you the uptake or the usage of those charge points. So we have also seen some correlation between installation of public charge points and uptake in the EVs in Coventry. So we sort of started this journey in 2018 with only 6 rapid chargers, and there were about 357 electric vehicles registered. We now have 485 chargers in Coventry, and we have about just over 1,000 vehicles registered in Coventry. So you can see that having a charging infrastructure is giving confidence to sort of Coventry citizens. Of course, the cost is a barrier, and I suppose when you start getting sort of second-hand vehicles and third-hand vehicles in the market, it is likely to increase. This is sort of, we're looking at hubs. So we are partnering or finding partners in the private sector to, as it says, unleash the potential for ultra-fast charging hubs across Coventry. And these will facilitate sort of all different types of electric vehicles. We will be looking to sort of have multi-fuel hubs, including hydrogen and gas, and very much supporting the SMEs in Coventry and the supply chains, along with research facilities. So, you know, transport and energy now goes hand in hand. We do need to look and of course look at green energy and green vehicles. So one of the big project that Coventry is looking at delivering, it has a element of medium and long-term delivery plan, which is the Clean Hub. And this is definitely going to sort of support the decarbonizing of transport accolade, if you like. So you've got sort of energy generation, last mile delivery, you've got sort of urban airport, which is like a flying sort of a drone service, very light rail, park and ride, consolidation center, research units. Also have a facility where you will be able to maintain the electric vehicles and allow them to park and charge, hydrogen production, static charging. So it's sort of almost a flagship project, a blueprint, because I think we believe that a multi-fuel hub is required at strategic locations across Midlands. So very much working, and there is an impetus to have this project delivered. So we are definitely working on this project. Future works around EVs. We are looking at exploring car clubs and lift shares. So just providing electric buses or charge points is not enough. I think the main thing we need to look at is reduced trip mileage in a city. And if you want residents and people to give up their cars, you need to provide them with measures that allows them to confidently sort of give up the 2-3 vehicle ownership that tends to be the norm in the city. So we are also looking, or we have introduced a mobility credit scheme where you sort of hand in your diesel vehicle and you get cash in sort of credit format, where you use that credit on trains, buses, car clubs, bike hires. So any kind of mobility solution that is available, you are able to use those credits. We are also looking at planning and including car clubs within the planning for developments. And we are currently doing a feasibility study on dynamic wireless power transfer technology, a project called Conclave, which we will be publishing the feasibility study report end of October. To date, it is looking very promising. I could talk about that forever. And so, of course, Coventry has facilities such as, the UK Battery Industrialization Centre, which is quite a fantastic facility. It's a research facility which welcomes manufacturers, entrepreneurs, educators, and of course, this is complemented by the Gigafactory at the Coventry Airport, which planning applications have been made. So that is also quite an exciting projects that are going on in Coventry. Then we also have, Coventry is the first electric bus city. We are looking to convert 290 buses by 2025. We currently have 10 buses operational, electric buses. So that project commenced this year. We have the bus operators on board. It is being delivered by Transport for West Midlands, who is the transport authority for West Midlands. And we are looking to have 130 buses, the first phase, operational by middle of next year. Then we have also a project like I mentioned earlier on, Very Light Rail. It is a very much an innovative project. The vehicle is it's a zero emission vehicle. It is designed and built in UK. It's a very much a lightweight construction that allows the track form to be shallow and low cost, which is something, it's a self-propelled vehicle, battery powered, of course. And it's the Conclave project, which is having coils embedded in the ground. If that project is successful, that is going to definitely enhance this project hugely. And within which the new charging technologies. So we are looking at how, or exploring how we integrate those. We also have, Coventry also has a COV test bed, which is the Connected Autonomous Vehicle Test Bed. This is with the support and funding from Innovate UK. I'm hoping you know Innovate UK. It's a government body, and we have partners, a lot of research and private partners that are involved in this project. And this project is typically looking at big data. It's looking at how you connect the inboard facility within the vehicle to all the assets that manage a highway or a road network, like road signals, traffic signals, and having roadside equipment such as CCTVs and vehicle management systems or VMS signs, having sensors in the road. So all those will be connected, and the data that is generated from them, how is that big data managed? So that is quite a big project that's been not operational, but is being facilitated over the last couple of years now. So all in all, there is a lot going on in Coventry, particularly from electrification perspective. So thank you very much. And I'm going to stop sharing. Happy to take any questions later on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Samala Evans, Catgill. You have started with, we have so far discussed about electrical vehicle, but this is a very good idea, electric city. That's, I mean, because unless we have a holistic approach, as you have rightly said, that having the building the charging infrastructure simultaneously and making all the vehicular movements, starting from bike, car, vans, every possible way of mobility, if we can transform into the electric mobility, that's probably give a holistic approach which will help to migrate to a basically e-culture. That's extremely important. And rightly, you have planned for a clean hub, battery production, everything together. So great to learn about Coventry. This can be an example for all of us. I would like to request Mrs. Liano Baglietto Castelliers and Mrs. Ira Gupta, Advisory Services Lead ARUP, on innovation and strategies for decarbonization of road transport. I have only small request to speak within a limited 10 minutes time frame so that we can conclude the session in time. So sorry for this message, but yes, please start.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gautam. Thank you very much. We also have some slides to share. So let's see if I can share my screen very quickly. Okay, and let's see if okay, yes, it seems to be working. Maybe go here. Very pleased to be invited to the Bengal Chamber Energy Conclave today. I'm Ira Gupta. I lead the advisory services for ARUP in India. I'm based here in Delhi, and with me is Liani, my colleague in London. So very quickly, some background about ARUP. If you don't know, ARUP is a multidisciplinary consulting firm. We were founded in 1946 by Sir Ove Arup in London, so we are quite an old firm. Now over 15,000 people, and as you see from the map, we have offices all over, and we are doing projects in over 140 countries, including many in India. So coming to India, we have been in India since 2008. We have got our headquarters in Mumbai and a presence in Delhi, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Pune. We started our advisory division a few years ago. Our core area used to be engineering, and in advisory, we're focusing on green energy and green transport since the last few years. We work a lot with institutional investors in India. These could be existing firms who have a footprint in India, or new private equity firms or asset operators who are looking at investment grade projects in India. So we conduct due diligence exercises for them. We advise them on market entry, and sometimes when they have the asset, we tell them how to optimize their assets as well. something new that we've been doing for the non-standard sectors, for example, airports and highways, is to help them with their decarbonization strategies. Arup, just related to that, Arup has been selected as the UN Sustainability Consultant for COP26. So we have a strong commitment not only to the UN SDGs, but we also bring that to other organizations who want advice on how to create their roadmaps for decarbonization. So without spending too much time on Arup, I will request Liani to take over and showcase some of our projects. These are some of our live and completed projects across the globe with particular relevance to India, we feel, and that's why we're presenting them here. Thanks, Liani.
Yep, thank you. My name is Liani Baglietto. I'm a transport planner at the London office of Arup, and I'm going to present a few of the case studies and projects that we have been working on. In the UK, we have been part of some major EV charging strategies. For example, we have been supporting Highways England with their EV charging points program support, and we were involved in this one from the very beginning, setting the key ambitions. We set from the very beginning that we thought that people would only feel comfortable traveling across the country if 90% of the strategic road network was to have a charging point every 20 miles. And we set some specific criteria for this. For example, that it should be able to provide charge 30 minutes, and that they should be accessible within 5 minutes of the strategic road network, and that this should be available 24/7. We thought that this criteria was important to give people the confidence to know that wherever they go in the country, they could still find a charging point. So we also did the modeling work. We developed a GIS model, and we looked at some gap identifications. We went into into procurement, and we helped develop the procurement strategy and appointed the two suppliers for these EV chargers. These have now been implemented, and we are continuing doing some further modeling work, looking at how we can still improve this network. And we're not only looking at transport data here, but also at the energy capacity and socioeconomic data to see how the demand is distributed across the country and how to better provide to that. And we can say that we have not only successfully achieved 95% of the SRN to have a charging point every 20 miles, but we have achieved 97% of the network to be covered. On the next one, we have some bus strategies as well. We have been working, we have been working in a number of cities, helping implement and do feasibility studies on electric buses. We have been working in Milton Keynes for a number of years. We have been working in York as well. The York case study is a bit interesting because in this city they have a bit of a constrained geography that is associated to their medieval core. And it was interesting to see how to do this analysis on which routes would be the most benefitable to convert to electric vehicles first. And for York, we have been able to successfully secure some funds from the Green Bus Fund to actually deliver these electric buses in the city. We are also looking at it at hydrogen buses, but this is as the technology evolves, we're keeping a close eye on this and doing some feasibility studies of how this could be developed for different cities. But again, the technology is evolving as we speak, and we are trying to keep a close eye on this. Next one, please. Airports, we have been doing a lot of work with airports, specifically an interesting case is Heathrow. As Heathrow was looking to expand, we wanted to make sure that the increased number of trips could be made in the most sustainable ways. And not only trips for passengers, but also for staff, logistics trips, and all these associated trips to the expansion. We helped develop the surface access strategy and to implement develop a Heathrow vehicle access charge and Heathrow ultra low emission zone that were some policies specifically designed for the airport. When designing these policies, we assess the different impacts that they will have in terms of achieving this mode shift in air quality, in costs and revenue, we went and engaged with a number of stakeholders, including the airport itself and a number of regional authorities that were operating in the area. And this is not only with Heathrow, but we have also been working with a number of airports in also looking at different energy sources for their operations. This is still a bit confidential, so I'm not able to say a lot more on this, but we're also keeping a close eye on how these technologies are continuously evolving. Next one, please. And in terms of logistics, this is a bit of more of a more smaller scale, but still very important. We have been working in a number of master plans and key areas, ensuring that that our clients can secure efficient, safe, and clean logistics. An interesting case study is the one that we've been doing in Broadgate, which is located near Liverpool Street here in London, which is a financial corridor. We have been speaking with the different landowners in the area and trying to look at strategies in which they can optimize their deliveries, in which, for example, if we have a number of office buildings, how can we ensure that if they are all being serviced for catering in the morning, like one same supplier, and that is made only once, and we can achieve economies of scale. And this not only saves costs in terms of financial costs, and also improves the area as we have less vehicles going through all the time. We have also been looking at waste consolidation, the promotion of, as I was saying, the preferred suppliers, looking at local suppliers as well, and other ways of getting the supplies into the area, using cargo bikes sometimes, retiming of delivery, so that, for example, if we have like waste collection, it is only done once and from one specific point at one time of the day. But again, this is something that we have been doing not only with Broadgate, but also in King's Cross and Stratford and in a number of other big developments. We also are recognized that deliveries is a key pressing point in our road networks and in our cities, and that deliveries are increasingly creating more and more traffic, especially with everything with the pandemic. So we have been partnered with London to test an electric vehicles trial for LG, and this is something that has been ongoing for a few years. But as patterns continue to evolve, we're still looking at this data. Yes, I think that would be it from the case studies. I don't know.
Yes,
Thank you.
I think happy to discuss more later, maybe if anyone has questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Ira and Leonie, for your presentation, which speaks for worldwide. There have been many successful case studies and also implementation stories, which gives us a lot of confidence. And you have also mentioned about the strategy, which is very important in this particular design. I would now request Mr. Andrew Stokes, Business Development Manager, Energy Systems, Catapults, UK. He will be covering on best practices on clean transport and clean energy technologies, because you all know that, yes, while strategy, design, implementation, all are important, but technology plays the most important role. So how really technology will enable us to find out the most optimized solution and which will be sustainable? We are all eager to listen to Andrew. Please.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a great pleasure to be here, everybody, to have the opportunity to talk to you today. I'm just going to share my screen, which hopefully you can all see. So yeah, I will briefly introduce the Energy Systems Catapult and then discuss a little bit about how we work with firms that have these innovative new technologies and how we help them to scale up. I'll give a few examples of that as well. So if I move on, first of all, to introduce the Energy Systems Catapult, we are a not-for-profit organisation in the UK. We were established by the UK's Innovation Agency, which is Innovate UK. But we are established by government, but we are there. After that, we are completely independent. We are independent. We work with the private sector, the public sector, and with academia. And try to, really our mission is to support the transition to net zero, but also crucially to support these new innovative products and services that will get us to net zero and will enable the private sector to take advantage of some of the opportunities presented by those challenges. And we are a systems catapult because we try to think of things holistically and take into account all aspects of the energy system. And really we work on two different kind of main areas of activity. The first of these is projects to look at the future, where we need to get to, look at some of the barriers to innovation, some of the challenges and the difficult sectors, be they EVs, data, kind of decarbonising areas, these kind of things. And we get involved in a lot of those projects, including demonstrations. And then crucially, we also work with innovators directly. And that can take a number of forms. That can be them coming to us and us supporting their services, supporting them with our services. Or it could be we have an incubator accelerator program where several times a year we will find a particular challenge, such as digital energy systems or decarbonising buildings and estates. And we will ask for applications across the energy sector in the UK. We will evaluate the best applications, and we will provide support to those firms. So I work in the international department, and my role really is to try and do those two things I've just described on an international scale. So to come up with bilateral, multilateral research projects, but also to support these kind of links between innovators internationally, to get them to work together, share knowledge, best practice. And really our international work I like to summarize in this way. The first one is access. So we have a really good knowledge of the UK supply chain. We have a database with well over 2,000 firms across different subsectors of energy. We can use that to analyze what's going on, see the latest technologies, match people to opportunities, match firms to solutions, and so on. Then we have a large insights team, and these people have a lot of experience of working with energy consumers, but also data scientists, so we can understand the opportunities presented by data and digitalization solutions. I've also flagged up here our living lab, because I think this is a key area of how we support the development of these technologies. Our living lab in the UK is 200 homes across the UK, normal lived-in homes, that we've got permission to monitor the energy use and also try new solutions. So this is a really good way for a firm with a new product or a new service to try something in a small number of homes in a real life setting, but on a relatively small, controlled, a cheaper scale, let's say. They can test the water, they can trial their solution in a small scale, but still in a real life setting. We also have teams who come up with different kind of policy recommendations and share best practice and things that have not worked so well in the UK. And we can also do studies of the UK market and how things are developing. And finally, we have a large team that advises on strategy. How can you get to net zero? We can do that on a national level, state level, regional level, or right down to a firm. So having talked about us and a little bit about how we support firms, I did just want to flag up a couple of opportunities, a couple of examples and case studies of where we've done this, particularly with Indian partners. So the first one of these was our Innovating for Clean Air project in Bengaluru, where we worked with a number of different partners to support solutions in the air quality and the electric vehicle space. And essentially what we did was we worked with the Indian partners to understand what some of the main challenges are, And then we found startups and small, medium enterprises, innovators with interesting technologies in India and in the UK, and we put them together and we created pilot projects. So you could actually see the deployment of them in a real life context, see how they worked, measure the impacts, and expose them to a wider kind of citizens and raise citizen awareness as well. So the flagship of this program was our Clean Air Street, which we worked with the Directorate of Urban Land Transport in Bangalore. And in this week, we pedestrianised a street every weekend for a number of months. And we closed it to normal vehicle traffic, but we allowed e-mobility solutions. And we had a number of Indian firms deploy their solutions, some UK ones as well. They deployed their solutions on the street so people could test them, become familiar with them, but also we could get really useful feedback for the firms to say, you know, what people liked, what was less good about the experience, so they could learn, so they could plan and help to support their scale up. And we also did a number of different pilot projects under the scheme. For example, we worked with a company called City EV to deploy charge points across a number of locations. The firm Energio made use of, they could make use of satellite technology and information about the electricity grid to produce some models to optimize the positioning of EV charge points. We installed a solar powered charge point on a campus of one of the universities. And we also created, with an Indian partner, an EV dashboard, which is a tool where people can, EV users, details of kind of their journey details, their battery details, this kind of thing is tracked online, and people can use this to see data on, you know, what the EV ecosystem is, where the charge points are, how much CO2 they're saving, this kind of thing as well. So that's in the transport space. In the clean energy space more generally, I also just briefly wanted to introduce this program, which was, we did a challenge call of the sort I described earlier. We identified 8 different firms with interesting cutting edge solutions in the clean energy space. We invited them, we prepared them for potentially collaboration in the Indian market by telling them about the market, preparing their products and services for it, and then matched them to Indian partners so they can come up with their own pilot projects or their own contracts or their MOUs or collaborative research partnerships. And this was also a really, really successful program that led to a number of different MOUs being signed. So those are a couple of examples of how we work with innovators directly, how we find the best of the UK, and we work with those innovators directly to match them to firms that they can work with, they can collaborate with, and how we can test what they've got in a real world setting and get the kind of impact, kind of feedback they need to explore how to scale up in the market. So that's all from me, hopefully short but sweet, and I'd be very happy to answer any questions later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. And you also mentioned about that various aspect of your activities. You mentioned about the Clean Street project, what you have taken up in Bangalore, in India. Also some of the other pilot projects, what you are continuing with. And you rightly mentioned about the 4 major components of access, insight, market, and strategy. Probably this together will bring in a total solution which we are speaking of. I would now request Mr. Joe Phelan, Director India, World Business Council. He will speak on climate ambition of business. Joe, please.
Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Joe Phelan. I lead the work of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. I'm based in Delhi, and we've had a presence in India for 8 years. We're headquartered in Switzerland. We are a membership organization. We work with 200 of the world's leading corporations from all sectors and all geographies, but they together are committed to creating a sustainable world where the most sustainable companies will be recognized and rewarded. I'm really pleased to be involved with the Bengal Chamber and also with the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, though sad not to be in Kolkata today. I mentioned that we work with 200 leading companies. Some of them have got a major historical presence in Kolkata, such as the Tatas, the Birlas, Ambuja, and ITC. And as well as these and other Indian majors, there are also UK headquartered companies are very well represented in our membership. Companies like BP or BT, but also Arup. So it was good to see you on the call, as well as many more. We're a global organization, but we are active in India, and our main focuses with businesses in India are electric mobility, energy storage, nature, particularly around agriculture and nature-based solutions, and finally in ESG disclosure. So this is the focus of our work with companies in India, but crucially, we're supporting companies to engage with us globally and with the sustainability agenda globally. I've been asked to talk about business ambition, so I'm going to do that for a few minutes. I don't have slides. So I think, we're all well aware that ambition is a useful instrument, and it's been used very effectively recently by the international policy community, the international network of countries. The COP21 Paris Agreement, an incredibly ambitious statement with full alignment behind it, India central to that agreement, and the Sustainable Development Goals that the year before in 2015, also with India really driving those targets being agreed upon globally. These are perhaps some of the most ambitious targets set by the global community, with very clear and measurable targets against them. And the result has been that of setting these ambitions has been, first, the result has been the direction of government resources towards these goals, but also the targets have shaped corporate strategies all around the world, and we're all responding as businesses to the Sustainable Development Agenda and the Paris Climate Agreement, and that in turn is unlocking private investment. So we can see how they're used by policymakers, and of course businesses, industry bodies such as the Bengal Chamber, industry chambers, sports teams. We all use ambition all the time to set targets, to raise our sights, and to lead. So let me just speak a little bit about our approach at the World Business Council to business ambition. So for more than 25 years, we have been a platform for businesses to use to set out ambitions which have in common that being ambitions, they are ambitious, they're all collective, and crucially, they're all delivered. We talk about targets being achievable, realistic, and that's fine. But it is essential that ambitions are delivered on. And so these things, ambitions that are ambitious, collective, and delivered, really have been at the center of what we've been doing as an organization for 25 years. And let me say a little bit about each of these things. So, in terms of ambitious, our member companies want to lead. Having targets that are ambitious is essential for credibility. It's essential that they're rooted in the level of ambition that's dictated by science. Also, ambitious goals are a powerful, instrument to rally lots of businesses and action around. So by being ambitious, certainly matching the scale of action that science demands is also a very powerful tool for driving change, for building coalitions and driving change. The second thing I said is, for 25 years, we've been supporting our member companies in driving business ambitions that are collective. And so all of the work that we do is either sectoral or working with a whole value chain, or sometimes industry-wide, representing the whole of industry. And again, being ambitious is essential for credibility. Likewise, being collective is essential for credibility with stakeholders. If you run a business, the way that you get treated, the assumption is that you're after SOPs and favourable policies. When you go as a sector or a value chain or as industry as a whole, you're treated differently. That's why the Bengal Chamber exists, to represent your collective interests. Likewise, the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, we're the platform for those companies that want to engage with stakeholders on the sustainable business agenda globally. Having collective business ambition is also essential for getting targets achieved. Our business action projects partner with the leading scientific, statutory, or professional bodies to help ensure that we're rooted in science. But also, when we come to delivery, that often requires working with the whole value chain or a sector working together so that there aren't any short-term financial disadvantages, or by pooling resources to achieve the kind of investments that are required. On this collective theme, it's also important, we found it very, very important that we take a supportive approach to policy engagement. So there is no doubt that all around the world, policy is crucial to enabling businesses to invest confidently in their energy transitions. And we've seen in every market great examples of that working, and areas where we're frustrated about the speed of change. Our approach is to show how businesses can, so rather than seeking to challenge policymakers wherever we're operating, we look to show how businesses can deliver on state, national, or international goals through collective action, and a collaborative, constructive approach with policymakers. So we work on business ambitions that are ambitious, that are collective, and lastly, and just as important, on business ambitions that are delivered, not just deliverable, but that they are delivered. Again, this is about credibility, and if we just take from the policy-making realm, just two examples that we're all aware of. India's solar ambitions, a great example, not only of galvanizing the country behind what at the time seemed a very ambitious target, but also the power of seeing progress against that target, and the confidence that that gave to all, whether renewable energy developers, financiers, consumers of power. The confidence that progress and seeing that target be delivered gave to everyone was very powerful. And this year we've crossed the 100 gigawatt target. So that's one example. Compare that with a live ambitious target, which has not yet been delivered. In 2016, there was this commitment to deliver $100 billion of annual climate finance for the developing world by 2020. And the lack of progress on that is caused a lot of distrust and, caused blockages, and comes up in other areas where collaboration would come. So it's really important that, I'd use this as an example of ambitions that we're all aware of, that not only are they ambitious and collective, but they're delivered. And clearly, this again is about credibility. Let me give you one example of how this has been put into place. Many of the people on the call will know about the work that the World Business Council did with the Indian cement sector through the Cement Sustainability Initiative. So the Indian cement sector came together through the WBCSD in 2010 and set an ambition for the carbon emissions for the national cement sector by 2020 to be in line with a 2-degree, limiting global warming to 2 degrees, which at the time, since 2010 or 2013, the roadmap was produced. 2 degrees was the accepted target. The companies we work with then collaborated once they produced this ambitious roadmap with plans for how to get there. They worked together to test the real-world potential of technologies that were identified in the roadmap and do common, consistent engagement with the ministries and departments that they're governed by. And in 2018, we did a review with those companies based on data up to 2017. And what we found is that that the Indian cement sector as a whole achieved its 2020 emission reduction targets by 2017, 3 years early. And we also found that the 9 companies we worked with, who together represented 65% of national installed capacity, they accounted for more than 100% of the progress of the sector, i.e. the remaining 35% that weren't in our project had actually got slightly worse on their emission intensity and emission reductions. And those that had worked together more than made up for those losses and delivered on the national goals on their own. So it's just one example of how an ambitious collective goal that's then delivered on can have very powerful impacts. And the Indian cement sector is well recognized internationally for the progress it's made. We all know about that. Let me just say 3 more things about what's going on now in terms of business ambition. So first of all, we announced last year the most ambitious sustainability criteria of any business organization globally. So our members sign to these criteria. So to be a member of WBCSD, you need to, within 2 years of joining, make a net zero greenhouse gas emission target for 2050, supported with credible science-based roadmaps to 2030. All of our members are also making a zero land degradation commitment. They're all committed to upholding human rights and promoting diversity and inclusion. And they're all also committed to transparency in disclosure of environmental, social, and governance criteria. And this disclosure piece is very important in terms of enabling businesses to drive real change. And you know what we're seeing, what we've learned over 25 years, and what we're seeing collectively with these criteria, and also individually with our projects, is that business ambition allows, when they're ambitious, when they're collective, when they're delivered, what we see is that they grow markets for products, they speed up adoption of new technologies, and they also allow businesses to make constructive asks of policymakers. So the first thing is we've set these new very ambitious criteria. The second thing is I just want to say a little bit about the kinds of ambitions that our members are taking to some of the key platforms that are coming up this year, the COP and also the G20. And then lastly, I'm going to say about an ambition statement that we are working on with the Indian electric vehicle value chain. So I'll just take a few more minutes. So we know this is a big year, and the UK is hosting this COP. And India was really at the center of the COP in Paris in 2015. It's a different world. COVID has made us look more internally, than we did before. But nevertheless, it's a huge opportunity. With or without the $100 billion in finance, the shift to clean technologies is going to unlock trillions of dollars new investment. India is capitalizing on some of that, but in this world, companies from every other territory are really working hard to seize all the opportunities that are there. And, it's a really big opportunity for India. So, we're working to support Indian companies to be at COP, and I just encourage all of you to be there and be at the center of this. We have a business sign-on letter that is going to go to the G20, and there's about a week left if your business would like to sign it. And it's calling for harmonized policy approaches across territories, which makes climate action a lot easier, especially with distributed value chains. It calls for phasing out coal by 2030 for developed countries, by 2040 for emerging markets. It calls for delivering on the climate finance and for bringing transparency into financial disclosures, which can drive capital to more sustainable activities. We're also developing a WBCSD member manifesto, which we'll take to COP. We're still, getting final sign-off from our members, but it will include this powering past coal piece. It will include low hydrogen and supportive policies for that. And it's going to include some specific asks for the financial markets. So our members, recognize that investors are quite right to ask for better information on sustainability, performance and risks from business. But as business, also we have the right to ask how it's going to be used and to ensure that it is used to direct finance and also to explain and make consistent the rules so that no business is disadvantaged. So we're asking for disclosure of ESG risks and impacts, mandatory and consistent, because there are, they need to be standardized. We are asking for corporate governance to be revised so that the fiduciary duties of company directors and investors will include ESG risks and impacts, because as company directors, Mark Carney's talked about, there's the tragedy of the commons, there's this tragedy of the horizon, whereas company directors, we're always required to look in the short term, even if in the long term it's going to be bad for our business and bad for investors. And lastly, we're calling for changes in incentives, so shifting the burden of taxation from goods, employing people, to bads, damaging nature, putting greenhouse gas emissions into the environment, and to ensure a level playing field for that globally. Lastly, I just want to let you all know that we are working with India's electric vehicle value chain. We've been working with them for more than 3 years, including fleet managers and commercial and industrial customers. And really this platform is, the platform for the sector in India. Already they've electrified 100 million kilometers of mobility demand in a year. We're working together to produce an ambition statement for India for 2030 that goes beyond the stated non-binding goal of 30% to achieve 65% of new vehicle sales by 2030, and supporting that with regulations and finance. And it's ambitious. It's well beyond the existing non-binding goal of 30%, and it's actually pretty much aligned with the target that Rocky Mountain Institute suggested in 2018. It's collective. It's the result of 3 years of engagement and trust building and action, and we're still working on the final alignment. And we think it can be delivered. So we've got detailed pathways, factoring in adoption rates for all vehicle types, financing options, and this should be one piece of India delivering and achieving on its transport NDCs, to scaling up massively the access to affordable, clean mobility for India's people. 3, helping to build on and accelerate India's transition, so they can be a leader in the global electric vehicle market, both in terms of manufacture and job creation, and also in terms of adoption here in the country. We're still refining on it. If you would like to be involved in that, please get in touch. So I'm going to finish there and just say that Business Ambition has achieved much, and it's critical that as companies we work together, and that we're always ambitious, operate with a collective approach, and that we then deliver on the ambitions that we make. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe, for your this strategic discussion on the collective business interest and the ambitious plan. We are running little short of time, so I am going straight to the next speaker, Mrs. Swati Madan, Project Officer, Energy Transition India, the Climate Group. She will speak on Race to Zero, Route Zero, EV100 campaign.
Thank you, Gautam. Is my screen visible and am I audible?
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. It's a pleasure to be participating in this session. So I'm Swati Madan, and I am with Climate Group. I drive corporate climate action campaigns at the organization. And this is nice segue from Joe's remarks, since he talked about how ambition is an important lever, and ambition is what is at the heart of what Climate Group does. So I'll begin by introducing the organization, and then I'll talk about what we do, how we do the campaigns we run, and how these campaigns foster collaborative climate action through bold, ambitious public commitments. So we are an international nonprofit, and we've got offices in Europe, North America, India, and China. And our mission is to drive climate action and drive it fast. And we work with two key stakeholders, businesses and governments, because these have the tools and influence to shape markets. And how we work is we bring together these stakeholders, we form networks of these stakeholders around bold climate commitments. We make sure that these networks deliver on their commitments and by holding them accountable. And then we also showcase what these networks are doing, and in doing so, we inspire more organizations to join the networks and undertake similarly ambitious climate action. With businesses, we actually run multiple campaigns, and these are 3 of our flagship campaigns, RE100, EP100, and EV100, and these bring together leading businesses that take bold 100% commitment around renewable energy, energy productivity, and electric vehicles, respectively. And for this presentation, I'll focus on EV100. EV100 is our global initiative which brings together companies that are committed to making electric transport the new normal by 2030. And companies do this by making a commitment to either electrify their fleets and or install charging infrastructure. And the scope of the commitment is 100% and across all geographies that companies have presences. And by doing this, by bringing together companies with that make these bold electric mobility commitments, we're actually increasing demand for electric vehicles. We are influencing policy, and we are driving mass rollout so that electric vehicles they become rapidly more affordable for everyone, and electric mobility becomes the new normal sooner than later. And globally, we've got more than 110 companies that have joined EV100, and cumulatively these companies they have committed to electric vehicles, more than 5 million electric vehicles by 2030 at the latest, and setting up some 6,700 plus charging stations. These are the logos of all the companies that have globally committed to the EV100 campaign. And this is the geographical spread of our members, the countries and regions where our members have presence in. And interestingly, India is one of the top markets for locations with charging commitments by companies, and also for locations with charging added during the last year. And this is from our latest EV100 annual report. These are the companies that have headquarters in India. So we've got 11 EV100 companies that are headquartered in India, and cumulatively these companies have committed to more than 200,000 electric vehicles by 2030. And we've got the likes of Zomato and Flipkart that have joined more recently than others. And apart from just bringing together companies that make these bold commitments, we also support companies with following through on their commitments and implementing roadmaps. So, and we do this by coming up with knowledge products. We do this, we're producing knowledge products which on sectors, we're producing knowledge products that are very company specific, and we're also coming up with demand aggregation frameworks, and we're also endeavoring to bust some very prevalent myths around electric mobility. So in addition to getting companies to commit and showcasing their bold leadership on electric mobility, we're also supporting companies with delivering on their commitments. Recently, the government of Maharashtra has partnered with EV100 to build a robust demand for EVs that can enable key linkages for the vibrant business community in Maharashtra and support the faster uptake of revised EV policy of Maharashtra. So the Maharashtra government is calling on businesses to align their sustainability endeavors with EV100, and in doing that, they'll be fast tracking the rollout of EV policy of Maharashtra. And the early mover companies will also get opportunities to shape the state policy on an ongoing basis. And taking a cue from this slide, I'd encourage the government of West Bengal to consider partnering with EV100 as well. So EV100, it focuses on ambition and commitment and action on the part of private companies, the private sector. And now we are also coming up with another platform, another commitment platform for public fleets. And this is the ZEV pledge for public fleets, which drives the shift to zero emission public fleets. And this is part of the Route Zero campaign, the Route Zero platform, which is to showcase bold action on zero emission vehicles ahead of COP26. And this is in support of UK COP26 presidency and in line with UN Race to Zero breakthroughs. And so why take this pledge now? Because it's an opportunity to encourage, support, and profile public sector organizations that are also taking action to send a strong demand signal to investors, automakers, as well as inspiring others to do more. And this pledge is in the lead up to COP26. This platform has been launched in the lead up to COP26, which would be a brilliant opportunity to demonstrate public sector commitment to transport decarbonization. So what exactly is ZEV Pledge? The ZEV Pledge for public fleets asks the signatories to pledge to convert their entire owned or leased fleets where feasible to zero emission vehicles. This could be achieved as soon as possible, but we've got some target dates for some vehicle segments. For buses, the date is 2030, the year is 2030, for two and three wheelers by 2030, for light duty vehicles by 2035, and for medium and heavy duty vehicles by 2040. And additionally, signatories may also pledge to use public procurement to support conversion of fleets where they have some degree of control, even if they don't own or lease, for example, through requirements in service contracts. And what is this ZEV? What are the stakeholders who can join the ZEV or commit to the ZEV pledge? So these could be cities, states, regions, nations, government agencies, departments, and other public sector bodies. So by committing to ZEV pledge, or by taking the ZEV pledge, you would be leading by example, raising awareness of the benefits of zero emission vehicles for a set of stakeholders. And there'll be a variety of profiling opportunities through media engagements, events and social media to showcase participation. So, and also you'd be contributing to global momentum on climate action, especially in the lead up to COP26. So these are the pledge requirements. We ask signatories to commit to converting at least one of the vehicle categories, owned, leased, or vehicles you acquire through service contracts, or you have in your operations through service contracts. The signatories just need to fill out an online form, and then they're required to provide an indicative number of vehicles owned and leased that they're pledging to transition to zero emission vehicles. And signatories are requested to also provide information on current policies or any additional action that they are taking or intending to take to support accelerated ZEV adoption. And this is something that would be worth profiling as well. So what we're doing is, having just launched this platform, we're collecting pledges in the lead up to COP26, where we'll showcase most impactful pledges. And we're also planning a public media announcement around the 15th of September, which would be a preview to some of these pledges. That's it from me. I'll be happy to take questions if time permits later on.
Thank you. Thank you, Shati. You have not only mentioned about the program of EV100, I found it's a movement, it's a pledge, it's a sort of a campaign type of thing. And so These are also very much required simultaneously to all our endeavor what is taking place. Our today's session's last speaker, Mr. Hemang Shah, is the India lead of EO Charging UK, and he will speak on business model for charging infrastructure creation. So I would request Hemang to speak.
Yes, thank you. Gautam sir, it's a pleasure to be here, and all the speakers were so nice, so I got more enriched today. Thank you for having me here. First, we'll share the screen for a small video. Is it visible?
Yeah, it is visible.
So it's one of our important part that we are always connected. UK team has always helped us to grow, and UK connections have always helped India team in a great way. Charging infrastructure as a business model in India, what's coming and what's going to come is really going to be very big. And the infrastructure that is going to be set up needs lots and lots of research and development, which is already ready with our UK team. So we are just, trying to implement from UK in India. We're just copying it, and we're trying to have little bit changes. The changes that major rise in this business understanding, which I would like to share, is India is a very densely populated country. The cities are very densely populated, other than the rural parts. Yes, there is. So if you see the general communication happening or the transit happening and the mobility happening is only around on an average is 10 kilometers. Everything is nearby. So if you travel in a day around 50 kilometers, you will have an average stop of 4 to 5 stops or 6 stops, because everything is nearby and you want to stop there, you want to have time over there, get your work done, move ahead. So our requirements are different than other countries. Like if China is half populated than our country. So we need more of infrastructure which is variable, place to place. There's a different requirement. On our highways, we have a requirement for fast chargers. But now when we talk about fast chargers, our vehicles are not yet ready to take very fast charging. They are capable of medium charging, like 30 kilowatt or maybe 50 kilowatt. A few cars cannot do 30 kilowatt also. So we need to plan accordingly and what the future is coming. And that's what the business model talks about. So generally in our business model, we promote in a very simple form. We first promote them to have a charging station in place to start something. Once they start something, we also give them a software which is operating on the cloud form. So a lot of data comes in from the charging where we can analyze how the charging station is operated. So initial investment goes down because he starts from a slow and a small model. one AC fast charger, 22 kilowatt, 3-phase, which runs on 1-phase to 3-phase. So he can do from 1.5 kilowatt to 22 kilowatt, how the car is capable, and a DC model of 30 or maybe a 60 kilowatt model with a dual gun. That's the max that we advise them to start. If the location is good, which is reliable up to 50 to 70%, we do a survey for that. In this survey, we try to find out the location, the probabilities, how good the location is, what is nearby, is this a destination charging or it's just only highway charging, any other supportive area that can promote more better response for this business. So we dig into that. We try to find out the education level, the population, and the income source or the type of income that they have, or the income value they have. If loans are there, if the loans are getting paid, then probably there is a quite a possibility that they'll be free of money, they'll be having surplus income, so they can spend on electric vehicle buying. So there'll be a growth in 18 months or 3 years. So we have divided ourselves into 3 phases when we give a project to someone. That is 18 months, 36 months, that's 1.5 year, 3 years, and 5 years. So in last 2 years, we know it's going to be big growth. But the crucial part is the first 1.5 year and the second 1.5 year. So here everything depends, it's so interlinked. So we try to analyze that and we try to help them that you should do a charging station here or not, and how you should do. So once we give them the software and they start their charging station, we have around 50 charging stations pan-India now. We have installed 50 stations at present, and we are in process of other 25 in next 1.5 month. So the point is that software takes in data that how the cars are charging and what kind of cars are charging and how much time they are taking, how much they are ready to wait. So that helps us to understand that what would be a revenue generation if we increase it, or is it required to increase, then what kind of charges would be needed, AC or DC, what capacity, how many numbers. So this we predict and we give it to the charge point operator. He has a better idea and is ready with the investment to move ahead. So, it's so interlinked. People generally come in this business thinking that it's a new opportunity and this is the future market. But there are pros and cons where charging stations won't work. They will not move. They'll be closed down. They'll be shut down. These locations won't be operational. So we make sure that our customers, they don't fall into this parameter. And that's how our business model works, initial level. So we have a survey. This is the first thing. We have analysis. We have a communication with the customer that what kind of it is going to be having and what kind of scope it can have in future. And once he's ready, we start with the work. We install the charging station. Once the installation of charging station is approximately 9.5 lakh rupees to start with an AC, DC and a computerized small hub built with that, with all the T3 chargers, with all the safety devices required and the best of installation that can happen according to the European standards. So once we move ahead with this, we make sure that we guide him that how to publicize his charges. So this is a very important factor. How to make it visible in front of public. So that is one we do. Second, what we do is we help him understand that what facilities he should have in his charging station, which will not only facilitate the customer, but also generate some revenue. So this is what we are working on. We have a separate team member just working on this one project. And this is what he develops, he guides, and that's what our team takes up in marketing and constantly helps our customer. So once he moves ahead, we do not buys a charger, we do not leave his hand. We are in hand with him. We have promised to be in hand at least with 3 years. Once 3 years are done, we'll make sure that we help him with the future plan. That is for solar. So if it's feasible, we'll go for solar. Many customers, they come and they want to do solar initially. We do not recommend that because a 30 kilowatt charger, which is 6.5 lakh rupee, would need a solar value of around 11 to 12 lakh rupee to operate it, and that too at a partial time. So and he needs a double quantity if he wants to run for full time. So this is not advisable. And so we advise our customers and we make sure that their investment are safe, business model is strong enough, and they make good money. On an average investment of 9 lakh rupees, he can earn around daily, initially in first phase, around 2,000 to 3,000 rupees per day. and in phase 2 around 4,500 rupees. In phase 3 around 6,000 to 7,000 rupees per day. So this is what our model is. I will not spend much time because we are already 18 minutes ahead. If any questions are there, please let me know. We'll answer them directly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Hemant.
Thank you.
You have brought really the practical aspect of what we have discussed so far.
Thank you, sir.
What exactly in the grassroots level, what granularity we should think of, and definitely I also appreciate because we found that some of the times it is a chicken and the egg issue.
True,
so
sir.
I mean, so we have to be compatible with the demand and on the supply. I would now request.
So one second. The more customers. Sorry, one point that I would reply you. The more customers that we have which are unsuccessful, that is detrimental for our sustainability of e-mobility. So we make sure this doesn't happen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now I request Mrs. Hoymonti Poddar, Senior Energy and Climate Change Advisor, COP26, Zero Emission Vehicles India Lead, UKFCFDO, British Deputy High Commission, Kolkata, and more importantly, Hoymonti since long has been associated with the chamber and is definitely a prime mover for us to be in the field of sustainability movement. So, Hoymonti, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roy. But before I conclude the session, may I request all the speakers to kindly switch on their cameras for a photo opportunity, please. Thank you, Joe. Thanks, Mr. Roy. Hemang, please. Swati, thanks. Okay, I can't see everybody on the screen, but hopefully you'll be able to be, there. Okay, fine, thanks. I would like to end by saying that, all transitions take time and it's essential that the preparation and the journey starts right now. Be it on policy advancement, be it on technology partnerships, we are all in it together. We are confident that by working together, the UK and India can ensure that people reap the economic benefits and the health benefits of clean transition and inspire the world to enhance greater ambition on climate in the run-up to COP26. We have had a galaxy of speakers today, and many, many thanks to each one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining us today to share your insights. Let me express our gratitude to the Bengal Chamber team to help set up this extremely useful dialogue. Our heartfelt thanks particularly to Mr. Dev Mukherjee, President of Bengal Chamber, Mr. Gautam Ray, Shubhadeep and Angona for the splendid event, which is the 40th edition of Bengal Chamber Energy Conclave, and for working with us on this, sharing these best practices and having this knowledge exchange with everyone. So our gratefulness to all the participants who have patiently been hearing us and have been, able to contribute to the discussions as well. If you have further questions or queries, please take, our contact details and the contact details of the speakers from the Bengal Chamber team or directly from me. So thank you very much for joining us today and hope you have a wonderful evening. Thanks.
Thank you, Hoymonti. Thank you. And we are now closing this session. And I hope all of you have enjoyed. It's a short time. If we just, do not keep, the eyes on the time, it could have been 3 to 4 hours discussion. I appreciate this is, of course, a needed also. And we are committed to bring the recommendations to the correct forum. And with this, I would like to conclude today's session. Angona, you have anything to say?
No, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So we are concluding this session. The next session is very interesting, which will start at 5 p.m. IST, Building Climate Resilience for Vulnerable Landscapes. Do join us at 5 p.m. for this session. Thank you.